Welcome to Sparkstarter, the podcast dedicated to sharing stories that ignite female entrepreneurs into action. I'm your host, Elizabeth Godey, and I'm here to fan the flame of your entrepreneurial spirit. Each week, we bring to you the inspiring stories of women trailblazers from around the world who have sparked change in their industries, powered their ideas into thriving businesses, and pioneered their way to success. So, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a startup enthusiast, or a seasoned business leader, join us as we delve into the journeys of these incredible women whose tales will surely ignite a spark in each one of us. Today, we're about to set your business ambitions on fire with the titan of social selling. Our guest today is Crystal Nichols, the maverick who's turned the digital marketplace on its head. She is the founder of Monetize with Crystallize, and this isn't just another success story. It's a masterclass in rewriting the rules of business. Crystal has built a staggering $60 million empire all through the power of social selling. She's created a Facebook community that's larger than many small cities and transformed it into a business that rakes in $4.8 million annually. But Crystal isn't just about the numbers. She's a true innovator, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the digital space. From her horse ranch in Texas, she's revolutionizing how we think about online engagement, community building, and turning social media presence into cold, hard cash. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on your groundbreaking strategies and how you've mastered the art of authentic connections with social media to drive explosive growth. Crystal, I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's an honor to be here, Elizabeth. I am so excited.
So, Crystal, we've had the opportunity to actually get to know each other through a software that actually really helps people with actually managing really large groups. And I would be remiss to not say, I mean, you have a Facebook group that is more than 300,000 people. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so that software is actually GroupTrack, and we were actually just chatting in the studio before this about sort of our we're also super fans of Jenna Larson, who is the founder of that business, and we had on this podcast earlier in the season. So, Crystal, with all of that being said, you have built a really big business, and it's really exciting to know that you've done that through sort of the power of relationships and social selling and online. But what I'm really curious about is how did you here? How did you actually go from, where did you start and how did you get here?
Well, interestingly enough, Elizabeth, I like to tell everybody when I start off any conversation, there is nothing about me that sets me apart from any other woman in the room, except for the fact that I showed up consistently and I've put in the effort. Just a little bit about who I am, I'm a single mom of 3 girls, 20, 18, and 11. And I dropped out of cosmetology school to get married and to have kids and have a family. So I didn't even graduate college, of course, high school, but I have no professional marketing education. I have no professional training. So literally, I was a stay-at-home mom with a brand new baby, 6 months old, and I had some really hard life things happen. And I was faced with a situation where I needed to be able to provide for my girls. And I didn't know if my marriage was going to work out. It ended up not working out. I got divorced after being married for 18 years and trying. And, but I had to figure out something to do because I didn't want to have to put my kids in daycare. It just wasn't feasible for me at that time. I wanted to be able to stay home with them. And my baby was little. She was 6 months old. And I wanted to be with her. And so social selling and digital marketing was just becoming pretty prevalent at that time. This was over a decade ago. And so I thought, why not me? Why not give it a shot and see how it goes?
Crystal, I love that so much. And I want to just really, I guess, drive home the fact that you said what really separates you is the fact that you show up. And I think that it's worth sort of like really driving that point home from the standpoint of the fact that so often we get in our own head, right? And we think that, we get this imposter syndrome. And so that causes us sometimes not to be able to show up. And not that I'm looking for this to necessarily, belabor this point too much, but what do you think allowed you to sort of have the confidence and the ability to just keep driving home?
My faith is a big part of it. And I do, I'm very consistent in my work to grow my faith and my relationship every day with God. But I always also knew I could just work a little bit harder. I might not be the smartest, I might not be the best at something, but I could always work a little bit harder. And that was something that I could control. And because of that, I knew when we needed something, if my kids needed shoes or my kids needed, a vehicle, or we had to, buy a horse or whatever it was, I knew I could work a little bit harder to make that happen, because if it was going to be, it was up to me. And that's just how it's always been.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that it's just like being just incredibly authentic as well. And so I mentioned in the intro, I mean, you have built your business, the Monetize with Crystallize. You have built this through this idea of really doing a lot of things through social media. So this wasn't a brick and mortar business. This was truly like formed through relationships. And I know that you had also have a very successful business also in direct sales. And I talk about this a lot because I find that a lot of women at some point have done some form of direct sales. And I do think that, and I also have done a stint. I worked on the corporate side of Amway, which I've talked about before. And I do think that direct sales does a lot for building confidence, teaching sales skills, really giving you the sort of toolkit to be able to actually have a business and still giving you like guardrails while giving you autonomy to be able to build your business. Now, not everyone is able to build as successful a business as you've built, but can you tell us a little bit about how those two pieces have worked together, the sort of direct sales piece and the Monetize with Crystallize?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. The direct selling industry and the multi-level marketing industry definitely give you those guardrails. And like you said, give you the autonomy to build it and to put your own personal touch on it, your own personal branding on it, and to make it your own. And I love that. And also you can partner with a company that takes care of all the things for you, like the great products and whatnot. So I really learned a lot in direct selling, especially how to work with other women, right? Because you put a bunch of powerhouse women together and we all have great ideas and we all have, very strong wills. That's the great and the hard, right? So you've got to learn to work together with other women, but then also leadership comes through that, and learning how to really lead with humility, with strength, with posture, right? And also have really clear boundaries and a clear vision, and being able to set goals on where you want to go. And so that's where I really focused on in the beginning, was really growing hard, setting my goals. I think about things very mathematically. If it maths, it's logical, it'll make sense. You can do it, right? And whatever math I can control, whatever equations I can control, goals, numbers, calls, reach outs, connections, whatever that looks like, then that's how I set my goals and I track my numbers backwards from there. You know what I mean? So then I started teaching the women that I was mentoring to do the same thing. And we had a lot of success with those simple formulas. And then you just do the same things over and over again, creating the repetitive cycle and the marketing and then the sales structures, right? And then you have really good, you take really good care of your customers. So that creates a perfect environment to grow. Then came the 2020 and COVID, and everything got discombobulated and spun off of its head from what we knew. And I always talk about the pre-COVID era and the post-COVID era. And so that's when Monetize with Crystallize really took place and started to form. I started to see a really big shift in marketing, and I started to see some trends, and I started to notice that people who had had success up until COVID and even through COVID were struggling afterwards. And I thought, what has changed? What's different? And then I saw a need for not just women, but specifically women, because that would definitely be the clientele that I work with the most, to really learn how to reposition themselves on the social channels to be able to reach their demographic and to inspire them and bring them in, because what we were doing wasn't working. And it was either you're going to have to innovate or you were going to become obsolete and you're going to have to go get a 9-to-5 job. And so that's when Monetize came along, because there was a need for it. And I knew I had the answers because I had pivoted in my business and I had the mathematical proof because I was recruiting and I was cashing, it was cash flowing. And so I thought this needs to be taught to other people.
Yeah, I love that. And also, I mean, building a 300, I think I'm trying to remember the exact number. It's like 360 something thousand, right? I mean, it's like well over 300,000 people in your largest group. And that's not the only group that you have. I mean, you have multiple extremely successful large groups. And what do you think has been the secret even behind growing those types of groups?
Creating a movement and creating excitement has been, you can do a lot by yourself, but when you leverage the power of people who are united in a mission together, then you can create a movement. And that's the exciting thing. And that's how those groups grew. And then just always making sure that we were cultivating and nurturing the groups and putting high value in there. My goal for every group and every workspace that I'm in is for people to come in and to be a part of my trainings and my lives, the free ones. And I want to make sure that if you never spend a dime with me, you never purchase anything from me, that you leave better than you came, that you still found value, and that our relationship isn't based on reciprocity, that you found value just by me getting to be a part of your life, because I don't believe that it was a coincidence. I felt like you were put here for a reason. And even if it was a short season, I want you to be better than you came.
And I love that so much. And I think that's the reason why we connected so quickly right away. I mean, we could not be more aligned there. And so from that standpoint, Crystal, having a business, and especially a multifaceted business like you have, I mean, you have multiple groups, you guide people in several different ways. How do you manage it all?
I have an amazing team. I have several girls that work for me, and they have been loyal and true. We don't have high turnover. I've had the same team for almost a decade. And so we really do work well together, but I also really focus on taking really good care of them on the employer side and making sure that they feel appreciated and valued, that they're paid well, they're compensated for their time, their efforts, that they're shouted out, that I take just as good a care of them as I do my clients who are, coming in and out of the community. And so without my team, I wouldn't be anywhere. They're the backbone of what I do.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because it really does take a village to have a successful business, especially when, you're trying to grow a business. And, it was interesting. There was Tech Week here in Grand Rapids, which is where I'm based, last week. And one of the things I participated in with these little tech talks, and one of the men had put up on screen, like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and he said, I really want to remove this slide from my deck, because I truly believe that there will be, with the help of AI, there will be $1 billion business that's made with just an individual, right? That they don't have to be a company that's founded with a bunch of people. And this has coincided with another speaker that I heard that was talking about the fact that 12% of people had not actually had an in-person conversation with another human in 8 days. And so you think about technology, and there are so many amazing things technology can do. But what I love is that our conversation right now is really rooted in this idea of like human connection, being able to sort of have these relationships and build that. And from that, you're actually building it. I mean, it's not to say that you couldn't build $1 billion company, but would you want to?
No, I love working. My personal assistant is amazing. Her and I mean, she's my ride or die. I love that girl. And we complement each other, and we work on our strengths, and we do assessments. I build in ways for her to make commissions, because she sells for me as me. I mean, she literally can be me in the DMs and the emails, and you don't know, and I'm not going to tell. But I've built a way for her to create an extra income and work on those commissions and use my sales process. And because I think she knows I'm going to take care of her, and she knows that I will put her interests above mine. And we always keep the business as the goal, right? And we run things very professionally. There's never a conversation we can't have. We know that we can bring hard conversations to each other and talk about it and look at what we've done and fix it and move forward. And because we've created that really safe work environment, we have great workflow. We have great production. We get so much done. We keep really tight business hours, and we respect each other's boundaries. Like I don't pester her when she's off work, and it just works so well. We have a very well-oiled machine.
Yeah, it's amazing when you find those exact sort of like right hand people, because they really do help you sort of get to that next level, and they help you really be successful or not. And so speaking of success, so you've built this organization, and so let's talk about sort of the details of that. I always like to ask, like, what's the best part of having your own business? What do you feel like has been like the guiding, light, the thing that makes your heart sing?
Oh, I love my work. But I also love being with my girls. And in fact, I was just telling you before the podcast, I decided to homeschool my children this year. I don't know what I was thinking, but let's just do it. And I've got my fifth grader and my, senior in there working together on their online classes, but I wanted to spend time with them. And it's my middle daughter's last year at home. And we have big goals for her horses and for her rodeo career, and we're doing it. And so what makes my heart sing is the fact that I get to pour into my legacies, my little mini me's, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the day. But I get to pour in them every day, and I get to have time freedom to be with them. But also, I love what I do. I love talking to people. I love creating content and pushing it out there. I love the creation of everything I get to do. I don't know. I just wake up every day excited and feeling very blessed. I love being at home, and my, you never know if I've got my stretchy pants on the bottom and just my business top on, I love it. It's just me. I've just always felt really blessed to be able to live this life and have this, and to be able to create an income and just have the flexibility and the time freedom.
Yeah. We hear that a lot on this podcast in particular, and it is interesting about for men. They want to build the accolades, they want to get the title, they want to build the money in the bank, and so often, even you've built a very, very big business, and in a secure, from a security standpoint, in a very different way than the average woman-owned business is making about $50,000 a year, which means that there are a lot of women making a lot less than that in order for that to become sort of the average. And so from that standpoint, I think it's more about our heart, right? It's more about the what actually is going to be satisfying to us later versus those things that are very just sort of like vanity pieces. But having a business isn't always easy, right? I mean, there are certainly things that we didn't necessarily know when we started out to do it. And so what do you think has been, or even still to this day, is like the hardest part about having your business?
Really, I really have to focus every single day, Elizabeth, on leading myself. Because if I do not get up every morning and take care of myself, and for Crystal, that looks like getting up every day, getting in the Word, having my coffee and quiet time, taking my walk, spending some time just meditating and thinking and journaling. And I know that sounds really cliche, but if I don't take the time to get this right and to lead myself first, then I get full of self-doubt. I get full of fear. I get full of stress. I question my path. And so I'm really cautious to take care of that. And I would say just fighting those negative thoughts, because all women have them. It doesn't matter. Like you're sitting here talking about these number metrics. And I'm like, who are you talking about? It's not me, but that's just, but as women, we do struggle with that confidence. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is me. And I'm going to keep doing it. And every single day, God is showing up and he's showing me which path. And I do pray for wisdom a lot. Every single day I pray for wisdom and for guidance, because I know that I'll get it abundantly if I ask for it, so just keeping that mental headspace good. And also that motivates me to be very meticulous, because when you are home and you have your children, which I have 3, my oldest is off at college now, but it's hard not to be distracted. And so staying laser focused is something else I've had to work very diligently on. And so for me, there's no secret. It's a checklist and a schedule. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that that piece a lot, and we oftentimes sometimes have like surprise, right? It's like the thing that we start a business, we have an idea of, obviously we want it to be successful, we want to be able to make money, and we want to be able to help other people, those types of things. But sometimes there are like these like added benefits that come along, or added, just it could be anything that sometimes it's just like a surprise that we didn't anticipate. It was just not on our radar at all. Can you think of anything that might have been a surprise for you when you started your business?
Oh, absolutely. I never thought that I would be a public speaker or a teacher or somebody that trained other women, or even had anything that would be of value that anybody would want to hear. I was just a mom. I was just a mom of 3 little girls who kept house and did laundry and cooked wonderful meals and was pretty happy doing it, and it wasn't until my marriage started to literally like disintegrate in front of my eyes that I was like, this isn't my identity anymore, and I need to remake myself. And unfortunately or fortunately, I was backed into a corner, and I had to make a way. And I didn't have any education to fall back on and go get a job, and I didn't have time to go back to school, and so I had to figure it out.
Which I think just comes back to the fact that you just show up, right? Like, it's like you had a goal and you just figured out how to show up. And I would say that you also didn't stop. You know what I mean? You didn't get to like that complacency of like, oh, okay, like my kids, are taken care of and I can live on my own. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. Like, I don't know where the end is, but I'm just going to keep going and shooting to the stars and growing
Like,
bigger and bigger.
I was just telling you before, I've got a 20-year-old in college, and she doesn't understand that adulting means she pays her own bill. She's learning that and she's doing really good with it. But mama still helps out a lot. But that's what I wanted to do, and I told my girls, if they make excellent decisions and they take the high road and they live their life, on that narrow road less traveled, that I would continue to help them. And I work hard because I see them working hard and making really good choices. And so I will continue to work hard to help them facilitate that.
Yeah, you're amazing, mom. And how lucky they have no idea how lucky they are, but I hope that they come back and listen to this podcast as they get older and really understand what a badass their mom is. So, so Crystal, when we think about the logistics of what goes into building a business, and we've talked a bit about, sort of like building the team and the importance of sort of having like those people who help build you up and like, help sort of close the gap of like where the boundaries are so that, you can obviously spend more time with your family. But there's a lot that goes into actually having a business. And, even though we throw around these really huge numbers, not all of it is profit, right? It's not like we're sitting back and saying, that you've got, multi-million dollars like sitting in your bank account, every year that's coming in. There's a lot of things that get paid out. And I think it's important for us to sort of talk about that so that women sort of understand that just because you have a gross number of what comes into your business, there's a lot that it costs to actually have a business. I always say, I don't care what business you start, there is nothing about starting a business that is free.
Absolutely.
And so would you mind just sort of sharing a little bit about what are the sort of like core big expenses for you in your business?
Absolutely. So by far, just in my employees and making sure that they are paid competitively and taken care of, because like I said, we do everything together, and I don't want to work by myself. Even if I could, I don't want to. I enjoy working with them. So they're absolutely. And then I have, of course, the technology that I use and I have in place with the infrastructure. That's really important because we are, as everybody is, we are more automated in a lot of our things. Now, we don't take the personal touches out because that's what sets us apart. But we have email campaigns, and we have text messages campaigns, and we have the opt-ins and the funnels that we run, and we have the group managers and the setters, and we have all that going on. And so that definitely, acquires charges. And then I have bookkeeping and that kind of thing is super critical because I don't have time to do that. And so, you need a good bookkeeper. People that say you can do it all. No, if I do the math and I know what my time is worth about $200 to $300 an hour, then it's worth it for me to pay a bookkeeper, right? So that I can focus on those high productivity, high incoming producing activities and pay somebody to do things that I'm not good at. Because if I were to keep my books, we'd probably have some trouble with the government and the IRS.
And I would also say, Crystal, I think you're worth more than several $100s an hour. But once we get through that, so Crystal, can you talk a little bit about what types of services you offer? So we talked a lot about it in the beginning about the social selling piece and about you growing these big communities, but you actually have a lot of programs that I know that our listeners would be interested in knowing more about. So can you tell us a little bit more about what some of those services are?
Absolutely. So my program really focuses on the marketing aspect and lead gen and really around leveraging a strategy to create viral content. Because today, in today's world and in today's just the economics of how social media works, we're all fighting for a space to get seen. And if we cannot get our content seen on the social channels, we're going to become obsolete unless we just want to do cold calls all day. And I don't like to do cold calls, so I would rather create content. Well, you can spend a lot of time creating content that doesn't get seen, and it's like you're spinning your wheels. So I have put together a strategy to create virality, and it's amazing and it's simple and it works. Our clients are getting amazing results with this strategy, but it starts a little bit before that because most people have no clue what they would even create content around to go viral. Most people think that, oh, I'm selling, makeup, I should do makeup tutorials to go viral. Well, maybe, but maybe not necessarily, right? So figuring out what it is and who you're going to be talking to. I know for me, my content is shockingly, I'm sure you're going to be shocked. It's all around being a single mom of 3 girls and the salty, sarcastic sense of humor that goes down in my house every night because it is a mess and it's authentic. Like you go follow me on Instagram, you're going to laugh. But it's all true. I mean, we put out content we don't have to pretend, like it just happens naturally, right? And so I help people identify what that is, and then we create that viral strategy. But then that's not enough because, like you said, we're not looking for vanity metrics. I want to help you create content that converts into sales. So then we push onto that. And then the formula to follow up and to close the sale, because it's not any good until we actually are cashing checks and depositing them in the bank. Because, like, again, I don't care to be that person that goes to the college and hanging out with my kids and I'm like, oh, I've got followers, but I'm not getting paid. I'm not that girl. I'm like, yeah, we're making money from this followers, right? We're gonna monetize this. So that's why it's monetized. But I offer group coaching and I offer private individual coaching. And I will say this too, Elizabeth, and you're probably gonna get on to me, but I keep my prices really affordable because I want to be able to help the mama who was like me, who was against the wall. You know what I mean? And so I just have a heart to serve my community, and I make sure that my prices are affordable where the average people like myself who were in that spot 10 years ago can come along and get it and find an opportunity to help and get better. And then every quarter, I do offer a mini course where we just pick one really hot topic that people are really wanting information on, and we dive deeper into that. So right now I'm in the middle of teaching. It's called From Consumer to Creator, teaching people how to change their mindset from just scrolling to becoming the person that you want to go watch their scroll, get into their content and then purchase whatever it is they're selling because you love them so much. So that's what we're teaching right now. And that does come into my group coaching as well. So.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I know that people can get a sense of who you are and how authentic you are from this conversation today. And, I love all of that. Is there anything, Crystal, today that we didn't get a chance to touch on that when you think about, what it was like when you first started your business and what it's like to sort of be a woman in business, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think would be helpful to share with our listeners?
I think the biggest thing I could drive home was really, really learning to lead myself. Like I said already, that has been a catalyst for me and a game changer. Because in these last 10 years, like I've mentioned, I've had a lot of life happen, including a hard divorce, a really hard divorce. But there is a beautiful life on the other side of every trial and tribulation that we go to. But if it hadn't been for my consistency and leading myself every single day, then I wouldn't have made it. And I probably would have had to go back to work. And then also, something that I just cannot drive home enough, we have to be investing in ourselves and learning, because the world doesn't stop just because we choose to quit learning. You can't say, oh, I've made it, I've arrived, unless, to your point, you have billions in the bank that you can just sit there and live on. I don't. I need to keep working. And plus, it feeds my soul. It's who I am. It's part of my identity. And so we've always got to be investing. I'm a coach and a trainer. I have a great, monthly residual incomes that have built up, but I still invest in myself, learning and surrounding myself, because we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? So I want to make sure that the people that I'm spending the time with are above me and they're where I'm wanting to go. And then the last thing I would say is, this is just a little random nugget. Never take advice from somebody that doesn't have what you want, right? So it doesn't matter if that's marriage, parenting, business. If they don't have the kids that you want to get, don't take advice from them. If they're not the business person that you want to strive to be, and they're making what they make, and I'm not saying that money's everything, but it's a good metric, right? Then don't get advice from them. Seek advice from people who are where you want to go and follow that. Don't sit there and have conversations with people that are beneath you with your success and your growth. And that's just been a game changer for me in adopting that mentality.
So I normally ask every guest, like, what's the one word or a short phrase that you would give to a future, woman looking to start a business or build a business? And I feel like you just gave so many of them. Is there anything left that you would also want to add there?
Well, one more thing that I always tell everybody, it's better to do right than to be right. And in leadership, you got to focus on that. And I like to be right, but I have to do right. So keeping that humble heart of humility and moving forward with that every single day. So I literally write that on my mirror. It's better to do right than be right.
I love that. Crystal, I love this. Last 2 minutes of this interview might be, there were so many amazing parts, but it might even be my favorite. You have so many great sort of just quick little quotes and sayings. I love it so much. And so, Crystal, after everyone has gotten to know you for all this time, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to reach out?
DM me on Facebook and send me a friend request. If you send me a friend request and you DM me, I will go check it and check the inbox. Sometimes if you don't send me the friend request to go with it, or follow me, whichever one is easier, then you might go to my others boxes. We do check that, but just to get that front row seat, and we will connect with you. We'll get you connected. I've got an amazing free community. It's called Socialize with Crystallize. Everybody's welcome to come in there. We do really good trainings in there every Thursday, and we give away a ton of free value. I always make sure that there's a great PDF and a checklist and scripts and steps to go with it. Because like I said, I want you to leave my community on that day of the training feeling like you learned more than you came in with. You don't ever have to spend a dime with me, but I want you to feel like this is a cool place for you to hang out and for you to learn from. That's our goal. So if you want to join that and come hang out with us, and we've got an amazing group of people in there too. So.
Well, I would say that the right people for you are people who like people who like good people, and people who like to make money. So if you fit any of those things, then I would say definitely reach out to Crystal. And Crystal, I don't want our time to end at all. It's been amazing just having you share your story, share your background, share all of your business nuggets, and also your really, really great advice for any woman out there who's thinking about starting a business or has one that maybe hasn't been showing as much as they could to grow one that is bigger. So thank you so much for joining me here today.
Absolutely. It was an honor. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, thank you also to each of our listeners. Thank you for joining us today on the Spark Starter podcast. It's been a pleasure bringing you the uniquely inspiring stories that ignite female entrepreneurs into action. I've been your host, Elizabeth Godey, and on behalf of all the awe-inspiring entrepreneurs out there, I encourage you to not only dream big, but to ignite those dreams into action. Remember, every spark can lead to an extraordinary fire. So keep the spark alive for today, tomorrow, and the vibrant future beyond. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to never miss a spark. Until next time, stay ignited.